Every year, there seems to be one video game that just blows everyone away with its pure awesomeness. In 2011, you could arguably say that that game was The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. With its amazing graphics, great gameplay, and intriguing plot, this game has deservedly won accolade after accolade, in addition to a massive fan following. It's rare when a video game of this caliber manages to ensnare people who aren't usually fans of this type of game, which speaks volumes about just how well Bethesda made it. So, welcome back everyone, and listen in as we discuss Skyrim right here on the season opener of Downloadable Content. Everybody, hello and welcome to Season 2 of Downloadable Content, Episode 1, or Episode 25 if you're keeping track. I am Brian and we are joined by Ron.
Hello everyone.
And Nick.
Hey!
Yes, it is the opening episode. And I figured what better way to start it than talk about a game that has eaten half the planet.
Maybe not half. Maybe half of America.
Maybe half of America. Yeah, Modern Warfare, eats half the planet, but that's a whole nother rant. But yes, welcome to Downloadable Content. If you've been a faithful listener of the series since last year, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoy listening to these episodes. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/downloadablecontent or on Twitter at DLContent. Once you finish listening to the episode, if you have any comments, questions, rants, raves, whatever, let us know at either place. We'll read it. We may even reply to it. For those new to this series, this is a series where anyone can come in, record, discuss whatever issues they want. Each episode usually has a certain theme, although occasionally we do have an open-ended episode where you're just free to talk about whatever you like. So if any of you who are listening to this want to record in a future episode, then by all means let me know. Again, going on to the sites, and let us hear it. Love to have you. You're going to be listening to two people who are Downloadable Content veterans at this point. Ron, I think, who lives in the show.
I thought I weren't supposed to know that.
Well, too late. I figure full disclosure. Full disclosure. I mean, you'll like Ron. You'll get to know him. He's fun. He's cuddly. He's cute. And
I don't know about that cute part, but
Awkward.
That's very easy to do, Nick. Nick has also been on for, I think, what's this, your 10th episode now? I'll have to look, but
10th or 11th. I'm pretty sure we're past 10 now.
So, we've got a couple of people here who will happily talk video games with anyone any day of the week. With that said, we are going to be discussing? Yeah, there's a word. Yeah, I'm prone to that. If you haven't figured that out already, that I'm going to trip over my words a lot because I live with my wife, who's an English major, and she just steals my English away from time to time. So,
Season 2 off to a great start, buddy.
That's all right. There's
always editing. You can fix it in post.
Yeah, we'll fix this in post. We'll fix that in post. So, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim came out late November 2011 to much fanfare. Came out in Japan in early December. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it is an RPG. It's a very, very open-ended RPG, so this game takes me a little bit out of my comfort zone, as you will, because I'm used to JRPGs, Japanese-style RPGs, like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, where you already have preset characters that you play along with, and you go through the course of the game playing, with these characters. There's no real customizing of the characters in terms of appearance, race, or anything like that. If you have control over anything, it's their stats.
Well, sometimes they're classes, depending on which game we're talking about.
Yeah, but by and large, Japanese RPGs, you don't have really open-ended gameplay. It's pretty linear, but they make up for the linear gameplay with usually good stories. So it works out. Whereas Skyrim, or it has been true of the Elder Scrolls series, it is completely open-ended. Right from the get-go, you can choose to just ignore playing the main story because there's so much to do. And for me personally, this is the first of the Elder Scrolls games that I have played. So this is a whole real new experience for me because I haven't played too many RPGs that are so open-ended and so expansive like this. That's how I'm going to open up. So
They did a really good job with carrying over some of the ideas from Oblivion, the fourth Elder Scrolls game, where Morrowind had this a little bit as well, which was the third Elder Scrolls game, but I think Oblivion really focused a lot more on the open expansiveness of the world and just like wandering around and doing whatever. You don't even have to do the main story quest line to get any of the good gear. I think Skyrim expands upon this quite a bit more. I remember reading somewhere like the Bethesda, the developers who made the game, said that Skyrim is the largest in terms of like walking distance of the Elder Scrolls games they've made up to this point. I think they said it's like twice or three times the size of Oblivion, Cyrodiil. So that's pretty large in and of itself. The environments too are also quite expansive and varied as well, which was like one of the knocks that Oblivion had against it. And Oblivion is a lot of hills, a lot of greens. There wasn't really a lot of earth tone palettes. There really wasn't that much of a varied palette. Whereas with Skyrim, there's a lot of. There's still hills and trees and stuff like that, but like you can just as easily walk from a fairly forested area out into a snowy hill-capped mountainside within 5 minutes of walking.
Yeah, that is true. One of my biggest complaints of Oblivion, and I'll be straight up honest here, I was not a fan of Elder Scrolls 4. But and my biggest complaint was it just kind of dropped you in the middle of an area and said, go. And my biggest problem with that is I like some direction, which is why I play JRPGs, is that they normally give you a direction. You eventually run out of things to do, so you have to go and do the main quest, which will eventually open up more side quests. And that's how I normally like to play. I think Skyrim does a better job with it, as main quests and side quests seem to be within relative walking distance of each other. So, it's kind of, you can do them along the way. So I think in some senses of the word, that Elder Scrolls V did a better job with that. But so far, I haven't played too much into the game, but I'm enjoying it so far. It seems a lot more straightforward than what Oblivion was.
Yeah. One of the things they had mentioned too with the development of Skyrim was that the developers wanted to try and build in some sort of like quest creating engine. Like you could be walking around randomly, and then you'll kill some bandit and come across this item on the bandit, which initiates a quest. And you can do that quest, or you can just leave it in your inventory and pass it along and can do it later. Oblivion had an issue where you had this open area, but there really wasn't any sort of connection to it. Like, you could just as easily walk into a dungeon, kill out all the monsters, get the loot from it, and then come back 20 levels later to that exact same dungeon, only because there's a quest related to it that you just never did because you didn't have the quest at the time. And with Skyrim, there seems to be a lot of quests tied into a lot of the dungeons that, like, just by walking up to the dungeon, the quest gets initiated and says, like, find this item in this dungeon, or kill the bandits inside, or something like that. And even though you may not know why there's a quest tied to it, there's usually a decent enough reward at the end that makes it worthwhile.
I'm just impressed at just how expansive Skyrim is. I mean, there are moments, even, 3 hours into the game, and there are moments where you could just stop and just look at the scenery, for Christ's sake. It is beautiful.
Well, the graphics engines have always been over the top with these Elder Scrolls games, but especially in the realm of Skyrim, I think maybe it's just me being a sucker for snowy areas, but I just love traversing the mountain landscapes.
Oh, they're fun. They are a lot of fun. And I know that, there are people who do like direction in their video games. I certainly don't mind a little direction in RPGs. I think, it's, because of the non-linear style of gameplay, it's one of the reasons why I liked, say, Final Fantasy XII so much, was that it was, the game said, okay, if you want to advance the story, you have to go here. But just letting you know, you don't have to go here right away. You can do whatever the hell you want in the meantime, and Skyrim follows that sort of same thing. It may seem a little daunting to players at first, especially players who are not used to this type of game, because you are hit with the possibility of doing side quests right out of the gate. Whereas, in other types of games, they may wait until you've reached a certain point in the game, or after you've reached a certain level of character. But Skyrim, right out of the gate, you just like, okay. As soon as you step foot onto Skyrim, it's like, okay, you're on your own. Have fun. Enjoy.
Yeah.
And to somebody who's, not particularly used to that, it might feel a little daunting, because they might think, okay, now what? I have too many options here.
Yeah. And one other thing between Skyrim and Oblivion, Brian, have you ever played Oblivion? No, you haven't played Oblivion.
No, this is the first Elder Scrolls game I've played.
Ron, you've played Oblivion. Okay.
Yes.
Which do you prefer more? Do you prefer some of that, some of the, I wouldn't say class system, but there seems to be a little more
class archetype?
Yeah, for as far as your race and sign was in Oblivion.
Yeah, I had my own personal choices for that. That's actually a nice segue, I think, is I lost a train of thought. Nick, go ahead. I think I know where you're leading, though.
Well, Oblivion gave you several different paths, but it made you better in some areas than others. Skyrim really got rid of that, just letting your experiences kind of drive it. The only real major factor is your race, and simplifying the options a little bit. I think at least helped the approachability of this game as opposed to Oblivion, in my opinion, because it's a little more pick up and go and do what I want to do instead of trying to pick the path and signs and all the sigils I need to follow the path that I want to go. I could just pick up all the armor and equipment I need and just go.
Yeah.
It doesn't take as long.
Yeah, I mean
and not as many resets.
yeah, that's one of my issues I had with Oblivion is I literally made like 50 characters, got them all to level 5, got bored with the game and stopped.
Yep.
And that was mainly because like I could not get to where I wanted to be as a character fast enough.
Yep.
Like I wanted to have, like say for example, I wanted to be the big fighter with a big ass sword and a lot of heavy armor. We can't really do that right away in Oblivion. Like I mean, you literally have to find the heavy armor first, then you have to find the big ass sword, then you actually have to not get encumbered, and then you have to not get like movement penalties and armor penalties while wearing the armor. Whereas with Skyrim, you only have like 3 stats really to worry about: your strength, your stamina, and your magic, or whatever they call it. And
also what you're carrying, because if you're carrying too much, then you can't run.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but they had that in Oblivion. But like, it doesn't really matter armor-wise whether you're wearing heavy armor or light armor or just plain robes. You don't. There's really no movement penalty or armor penalty for wearing it. Like it used to be in Oblivion. Like, say for example, you're wearing heavy armor, but you don't know how to use heavy armor. Well, every time you get hit, you lose a little bit of your stamina.
Okay, so I'm getting the sense, Ron, that past Elder Scrolls games, or at least Oblivion, sort of followed kind of like the D&D rule set.
Yeah, exactly. And this one, they really seem to be going more so for, I want to say, a more lenient rule set in the sense of there may be some like hard rules, like you need to get to a certain level in destruction spells before you can get to the next level of spells. But you can be just as easily be a mage walking around in heavy armor and not really have too much of an issue with it.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, especially, I actually think that that's one of the appealing things about Skyrim and why I don't recall, and I could be sorely mistaken, I don't recall the huge fan following for Oblivion or Morrowind or whatever the games than I have seen with Skyrim. I could be wrong. You know, for all I know, Oblivion could have had this exact same rabid fan response, and I just didn't know it.
Oblivion had a bit of a fan response, but it's not nearly as prolific as it is with Skyrim. And actually, I think this is mainly because of the for 2 reasons. One, the lore behind the Elder Scrolls games had never had any dragons show up until this point. And this is
that's a new feature then. I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. So having dragons in Skyrim is an exciting new thing for fans, and then there's the casual gamer aspect of, oh my god, I get to fight dragons.
Oh my god, dragons! Ah!
Yeah, and this is like, I don't know about you guys, but there was so much advertisements for Skyrim on TV, on the internet. Like, there was not nearly this much when Oblivion came out. I mean, I watch a lot of like video game streams, and like every commercial leading up to Skyrim's release was nothing but Skyrim.
There was a huge advertising blitz for Skyrim. I remember that distinctly, and that is how how my interest was piqued. I'm like, ooh. Especially now that since I've begun playing D&D and have been more, you know, curious and wanting to play these types of open-ended, create your own character, you control everything about that character type of game.
Yeah.
So I could certainly see how it would definitely appeal to the tabletop RPG gamer, because again, you know, it's sort of that type of feel. And also, as I said, you know, because Skyrim itself doesn't adhere so strongly to the D&D type of rule set in past games, I think that also may have helped, you know, even the casual gamer pick it up, because they don't have all these rules to think about.
Yeah, like, in terms of the advertising, like, imagine you're a casual gamer and you see this commercial come on where you got some like epic music playing, and then all of a sudden some dragon swoops down and starts breathing fire on this dude, and you're like, oh shit, that's probably some commercial for a movie. And then all of a sudden you see the guy come out of the fire, literally scream at the dragon, and the dragon like cowers in fear. And then they do the camera pan out, and you see this big open landscape, and then they show the gameplay, and like, oh my god, this is actually a game. This looks amazing. I'm curious.
Which was kind of my reaction when I saw the first commercials for, like, whoa, this could be fun. But I mean, it has certainly reached, just the sales numbers have been mind-boggling just with this game alone. It released almost 4 million copies within the first 48 hours of its release, which is really, really good, for any game. Obviously that's not, the stratospheric numbers of, say, that shoot the hell out of everything game, Modern Warfare. But
yeah, I still think those numbers are gorged because like there's no way you have 20 million people buying Modern Warfare in the first 48 hours.
And apparently, I mean, this was also made available. Now, is this the first? Because I know that the Elder Scrolls games previously, were they only PC exclusives, or had they always been available on console?
Up until Morrowind, which is the third game, they were PC only. Oblivion was the first console one, which was, I think, Xbox 360 only. And then Skyrim was on PS3,
yes,
360.
Yeah, Skyrim is on PS3, 360, yeah.
And that's where the Elder Scrolls did pick up steam. Steam was when it did release for the 360, because that's what got people interested in this first-person RPG game. That's really what started to get people going. It's like, wait, it's a FPS, but it's a medieval style game. Wait, what?
Why do you think the 360 solely though?
I think right when Oblivion came out. So like, we're talking like right when they were developing it. I believe the 360 was just released to the consumers. The PS3 still wasn't finished yet, and so therefore the PS2 didn't have the hardware available to do Oblivion.
That may be true. I honestly don't know that.
Oblivion was released for PS3 and 360. It came out for the PS3 later. Oblivion came out on the 360 in March of 2006. It came out on the PS3 a whole year later. So
then I think your theory's probably not too far off, Ron.
Yeah, I had to look to make sure, but I'm pretty sure the PS3 didn't come out until end of 2006, so they wouldn't really have had a development kit available for them while they're developing Oblivion.
And this has been, so you can buy this game from Steam online, and this game has been by and large their best seller.
Yeah.
Convincingly. It's like, okay, it's Skyrim, and then whatever game is in second is not even close.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing, too, because, I mean, Steam is a nice store, but, like, personally, I like the physical copy of a disc, so people buying the digital copy means that they obviously have the two things. One, they have a gaming rig that's good enough for it, which means they probably spent some money just building up to play Skyrim, and two, that there's Steam starting to become a prolific thing in terms of a video game provider.
Interesting.
It also didn't hurt the fact that Steam constantly has sales, which also helped drive more copies being sold, because that's how I got mine. As soon as they offer Skyrim, 33% off, I'm gonna jump on that.
Well, yeah, I mean that because normally it's a $60 game, and then you take away a third of the price, and
yep,
yeah, that's a no-brainer. I mean, I bought it because I had a GameStop gift card to burn, I was just like, hey, Christmas gift, alright. But, having now played Skyrim for a little bit, I'm very impressed at combat, the combat, which is one of the major aspects of the gameplay, because, it's a non-cluttered screen. The only thing and I like that. I do not like having a whole bunch of things on my screen to get in the way of the action. All you see is at the top of your screen your compass, your direction, and that's it. And I think I'm very impressed with how easy it is to, to engage in combat. It's none of these complex menus or anything like that. It's just press a button, swing a sword, press a button, block. Very easy.
Hate to cut you off, but how do you like the menu system? Because the PC version is kind of
clunky.
Yeah, if for lack of a better word.
Define clunky. Because I'm playing the Xbox 360 version. I don't know what minor differences are in the PS3 or the PC version.
The PC version, everything is... the space is not managed well. You really have to scroll around to try and get to the right thing that you want to click on. It's just very not user-friendly. You could tell it was clearly that there was no design changes really. Well, I wouldn't know this. I haven't seen the console versions, but it seems like there was no change between the PC version and the console version. It just seems more tailored to a console version.
Yes, I've played both versions. PC version's main issue is there is no key command built into the game for, like, say you hit the A key and that pushes left into your next subset of menus. You have to click on the tab itself and then click on the other tab, then scroll down through your inventory screen to click on the item that you want, compared to the console version where it's like left stick, item inventory, left stick again, I'm in my potions inventory, I click this potion and I'm done.
Well, I know that you can assign items, at least on the 360 version, you can assign items as something called favorites.
Yes, your hotkeys, yeah, they have that in the PC version as well, but even then, it's like, I personally only had, like, I've got mostly spells hotkeyed, and a couple weapon setups. And then, while the PC version may give you more hotkeys in terms of options, because you have, like, the whole 1 through 10 number keyboard, like, there's still times where you're like, I need to go into my inventory and use a potion that I don't normally use, or I need to change my armor. And it's still very... And then you still come across it. It still doesn't really help a whole lot.
Well, at least at the very least, you can pause the action while you're in combat to access those, unlike a real-time sort of thing where, if the combat was in real time, then I would be a little bit more harsh on, the menus and whatnot, because that was one of my big gripes with Resident Evil 5, which was zombie, I'm surrounded in 8,000 zombies. I need to access an herb, but wait, my inventory's in real time while they're attacking, and dead.
Resident Evil.
But but right now, since I'm just very early on in the game, my character doesn't have, has barely anything in the way of magic, so right now I just have potions, set up as hotkeys and whatnot, so...
Well, don't forget, you recover health over time.
Yes, however, it doesn't help when it's 1-on-4, and all 4 of them are beating the crap out of you. You don't have...
How do you get yourself in 1-on-4s?
That happens quite a bit in some of the dungeons.
One of the very early side quests I chose to do was right near the beginning of the game, where you have to hunt down you have to find the golden claw.
Yeah, I have a good idea where you are, of which one you're talking about, but I never got myself swarmed like that. How did you pull that off?
I'm just
That's
awesome.
Not that hard to happen. I've personally gotten into 1-on-8s before without too much difficulty. Um, the issue really is probably going to be with the Durgar, the undead zombie things that are
Yes, that's who I ran into while I was doing this side quest of, finding the golden claw, and
there's a Dunmer or something like that. It's a D something word.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm finding myself 1 on 3, 1 on 4, and what helped though is that when I was in one of those situations, I lured them into a trap.
That's fun.
That's fun.
Smart man.
I lured them into a trap. There was this one particular trap where there was just this very fast swinging metal gate with spikes on the end of it.
That one.
And I'm just like,
you lured them all the way back there.
What?
You lured them all the way back there.
No, that's.
They're in the area probably, because also keep in mind too. This is a nice little trick that I learned is when they're waking up initially, like if they pop out of a coffin or if they're started climbing out of the side of a wall, like they still haven't really gotten into the point where they could attack you, but you can attack them.
Yes,
yes.
I noticed that immediately, which was a great. I cannot love that enough, because in every video game I've played, the only time you can start to inflict damage on the enemy is when they're ready. Is when they're ready to go.
Yeah, screw that shit. Okay.
You swing your sword at an enemy that's waking up, and it does no damage until then once they're standing up and fully armed and ready to go, then you can hurt them. Not here.
Fuck fighting fair. Just slice their gut open and just be done with it.
Many times I'm just like, crap, I'm low on health. Shit, this guy's getting out of the coffin. I'm gonna bash his head in while he's getting up. Oh, problem solved. Hey, how about that?
Yeah,
You
bashed the head in, I set him on fire.
Well, right now, the first character I created, well, the only character I've created is a female high elf.
Oh, okay. I was just getting to the Mages Guild fast.
Yeah.
So I decided it's very rare that I'm given the opportunity to play as anything other than the tank in an RPG.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, there's a lot of customizing here. I'm gonna do something I never get to do. Play as a female and see where that leads.
It's pretty fun. It's interesting too with the skill system. Like every level you get a point to put into a particular sigil or sign or skill tree or whatever.
I don't want to cut you off there. I want to save that for the second half because we're about to wrap up the first.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah.
So we'll definitely explore the skill sets and things like that in the second half.
Yeah.
Because that's a big one. But yeah, I'm liking how things are progressing in the game thus far. Combat's great, just very easy to pick up, and we will talk more in detail about that. Nick, you have anything you want to say before we close out the first half?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered it pretty well and good, so...
Alrighty, so we will keep discussing anything and everything Skyrim on the second half of downloadable content. We'll be back. back to this second half of downloadable content, our Skyrim discussion. Ron and Nick are still here. They haven't gone off adventuring.
No, but you're starting to give me some reasons to go out and adventure, but I'll hold off on that for now.
Yeah, just wait for just after the second half is over, then you can go back.
Stay a while and listen.
Yeah.
Sorry, wrong game.
Wait, now you got me thinking. What game was that? Stay a while and listen.
Dark Arcane, Diablo 2.
Oh, that would be why my friends would know that one. Okay, got it. Okay, moving on.
See, Ron is just full of video game references. It's like the MST3K of the video game world over here.
I try and hold back.
No. But we are going to continue our discussion of this giant, massive game we call Skyrim. Luckily, we have, two panelists here who have at least come up for air, unlike some people on my Facebook friends list who have long since vanished.
I mean, it's a fun game, don't get me wrong, but it's not a game that I will, immerse myself for hours on end into. I mean, yes, it's fun, but yeah, there are other games I want to play.
And that's fine. That is certainly your opinion. That's great. And for some, this game has consumed all. But obviously, we won't get to those at the moment. All right. So, starting off this second half, we're going to begin with something that Ron started to mention in the first half before I said, hold that thought. And that is your character's skill set.
Okay.
But
so skill set wise, you gain experience based upon not how many enemies you kill or quests you complete, but basically how you progress as, a character. So, say for example, you like using a sword and shield with the occasional spell, and you wear light armor.
mm-hmm.
As you use the more you stab people, the more you block attacks, the more you get hit, the more you cast those few spells, the more experience you get, and the more wizened you get in terms of those skills, and then eventually you gain a level that way. And then what happens is when you gain a level, you choose whether you want to get an increase in HP or a health, magic, or stamina. And then you choose a skill set of 25 skills, I think.
It's a huge list.
Yeah. So say for example, you really like using a one-handed weapon. Well, you can make it so that your one-handed weapons do more damage, or you get a special attack that slows the enemy whenever you hit them, or if you want to dual wield weapons, you can get bonuses to dual wielding weapons as well. There's a wide berth of customization options for you in terms of how you want your character to become. Like, you could play the stealthy rogue that stealths around and lockpick stuff, or you could be the archmage that knows all spells and can blow everyone up in the wink of an eye. Or you could do a mix. Like, for me personally, I went with what would best be described as the red mage archetype, where I'm pretty good with swords and I'm pretty good with spells, and I wear light armor. It takes a while to get to that end point, to realize that end goal, but once you do get it, oh my god, it's so much fun to just walk into my best description of this is literally walk into a room with 8 guys, and within a span of 10 seconds, all of them are dead, and I have not taken a single point of damage.
Nice. And, as you've mentioned, there is a huge amount of customization you can do. I'm looking at the skill set. I just couldn't believe, my character, as I said, is a high elf, so there are stats and abilities for archery, for lockpicking, for two-handed weapons, light armor, heavy armor, and the list goes on. And I like the fact that you don't have to level up right away when you do get a level up. It just sends you a friendly reminder every so often, like, hey, go to the menu and level up, because you can do that now.
Yeah, well, that was an issue that Oblivion had, was like the moment you hit a level, like you basically stopped getting progression skills on anything.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you had to go and for Oblivion, you had to go back to a bed and sleep in a bed for at least 1 hour to get to progress your level. Whereas with Skyrim, like you can gain a level in the middle of a fight, quite literally. Go to pause the game for a second, go ascend to your which is actually a nice design of having you look to the heavens of for your levels.
That was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Look to the sky, look to the constellations, and be like, yes, give me that archery star.
Exactly. Like, I looked at the heavens for wisdom and guidance, and I pulled back this big-ass fireball. Have fun with it.
One of the things I do like about the skill trees, and again, I think this goes back to the whole replayability factor of just all the different characters and combinations, because how many skills are there?
There's a lot.
I mean, let's just go over some of the basics. We got one-handed weapons, two-handed weapons, blocking, essentially shields, heavy armor, light armor, and then that's just the weapon skills. And then we have smithing, we have archery, we have let's see, backsmithing, archery,
Enchanting.
Then the spells alone: destruction, restoration, enchantment, necromancy. I think there's one of. There's a few others as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the trees just go on, and just to sit there and go through how many paths you want to take, you really do have to have a long-term goal in mind as you pick this up. So, and that can be a little daunting, but just decide what you want to go as and just go and do it, because pretty much in the realm of Skyrim, you can think it, you can pretty much do it.
You really can. I mean, and because of the sheer level of customization, you could decide to be a sort of a jack of all trades sort of thing, or you could specialize in specific skills, and you're not going to be penalized or anything like that for it. It's great. It definitely lends itself to huge amounts of replay value, and it's no surprise that people can spend 80, 90, 100, 300, 7 years inside this game and go through it because of all of the different modes and skills. It's great. It's beautiful stuff.
And they designed it too where you may stop gaining like HP and MP like after level 50, but if you truly well and fully went to 100 skill level on every single skill, the effective level you have is a level 81 character, which is a pretty damn powerful character. And just think about that for a moment. 81 points to play around with. You could maximize like 3 or 4 different skill tree sets by themselves and still have points to spare to put into something else.
Yes, that is the max level in the game. It's 81 and a half, actually.
Really, half?
I don't know how you get half a level, but the max level is 81 and a half.
But still, that's only 81 points to distribute amongst how many skills? I mean, you're just not going to master everything in the game. You really...
Yeah.
You are just going to have to really sit down and determine what you want to do. And again, that just makes people want to go, well, I want to try this combination, and all of a sudden you have 9 characters.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting too with that. Like, I personally only have one character in Skyrim, but I've got so much time invested in him in terms of skill tree set and stats and stuff like that. Like, I feel like if I wanted to go back and start over again, I personally would have to go to a completely new archetype. Like, I would not want to play the sword person with spells anymore. I would probably end up playing something like the Sneaky Rogue, where I got like, well, they have a backstabbing in this game where it's like extra damage is if you sneak up on someone and stab them without them noticing you. And they have certain skill tree sets that I think with a dagger you do like up to times 30 damage with a dagger attack,
Oh,
which
Jesus.
which is like pretty damn good. And
That's like Tonberry good, really. It's
yeah,
Really? You went for that joke?
I did go for that joke, and I'm gonna stand by it.
yeah, and like archery too. Like you could play Legolas from Lord of the Rings pretty easily. Like the archery in Oblivion was not that good, in my opinion, and they improved upon some of the issues that most people had with it, mainly just the lack of damage. And now, if you want to be like an archery character, like you could get quite a bit of a benefit out of it.
It's really, really just mind-blowing just how much free reign you have with this game, which is why, again, I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone because of just how non-structured this is. This is not a JRPG. It's really just
Yeah, like and I guess the story I feel is pretty nice, but my issue with it is they lead you to believe that the main story is about one thing, when in actuality it's entirely completely different thing that you really don't even know about until like 4 or 5 hours into playing the game. So I kind of just wish that they had a clear goal in mind of like, this is the main story. If you want to progress the main story, go ahead and do so. But everything, and then everything else is a side quest. But like the first 4 or 5 hours, I personally was led to believe that the main story was not what it was, but was something else. I don't want to say what it is because both of you probably haven't gotten to that point in time.
well, no, but I do know that obviously it involves, prophecy and, your character being, there's a lot of the whole Dragonborn thing, which sounds like it was stolen from D&D, but but yes, I do see. I've tried to avoid some of the spoilers on Facebook. I mean, I have not encountered the dragon shouts yet, which apparently is a big part of the game.
Yeah, that actually I think is a really nice benefit too for like.
Well, what is it?
It's bardic music on crack.
Yeah. Basically, it's a spell that recharges over time and is not tied into your magic skill. So the example that they show in the commercial is him screaming "Fush Roda" at someone, and that's essentially like a very powerful voice attack that stuns an enemy or blows them back.
Okay, so that I mean, do the different dragon shouts have different effects, or they're
Yes.
just
One breathes fire, one breathes ice, one turns you invisible. One.
There's an invisible one?
Yes, there is.
I want that one ASAP.
It's invisible. It's not so much invisibility as it is you turn into a ghost. They can't hit you, but you can't hit them.
Oh, but they can still see me? Nuts.
I think there's an invisible one, though. I'm pretty sure there's an invisible one, though.
Well, I need one to complete a quest.
There's dragon shouts that weaken the enemy, like weakens their armor.
Disarm them, I know that.
Disarms them. In total, I think there's like 24 dragon shouts.
But they have to be powered up by dragon souls,
which you only get by killing a dragon, which it makes the dragon fights pretty exciting in and of themselves because you have the epic music playing in the background, you have this thing flying around breathing fire on you or ice. Once you get to a certain level, they switch up into ice.
I get the sense that, when I do finally encounter one of these dragon beasties I'm going to have to fight, I kind of get the sense that there's going to be like a Shadow of the Colossus sort of effect, where you're on this very huge beastie, and you're this tiny little thing, and you have to stab it in strategic places, and
No, it's
No.
pretty much it's a hack and slash. It flies around, you shoot it, it crashes into the ground, then you stab it some more, and it dies.
And
okay.
and you sometimes you won't exactly be alone through it, so you'll have meat shields.
Oh yeah, that's a nice thing too. Is say for example, this is fantastic. I can argue about this. The dragons generally try and spawn somewhere around you. Now, there are certain dragons that have a certain nest that they stay at, but there are like wild roaming dragons that come around. Well, sometimes when you fast travel, the dragon will spawn right next to you.
Yeah.
So quite literally, it happened to me 3 times when I traveled to Whitehall, which is where the Mages Guild is at.
That's where I have to go next, I believe.
Yeah, so I travel to Whitehall, and then I'm walking up to the Mages Guild. All of a sudden, I hear the dragon music playing. I'm like, da, 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 da. And I'm like, what? There's a dragon around here. And I look up, and I'm like, oh shit! There's this fucking dragon flying around. And
That's the penalty you get for fast traveling.
Yeah, but but like if you're in a town or something like that, like town guards will pull arrows out and start pull bows and arrows out and start shooting at the thing. While the dragon's landing on top of buildings, roasting the peasants on the street.
Oh, Trogdor.
Yeah.
It's burninating the peasants.
Exactly.
Damn it, Brian.
Oh, shut up, you.
But the dragon fights are always meant to be a challenge. Oblivion had this thing where enemies would scale and level with you. So you fight a bandit at level 2 in Oblivion, and it may have leather armor and a dagger. And you fight that same bandit when you're level 48, and he's got glass armor on and an enchanted dagger that does like 50 damage.
Yeesh.
Yeah, which is about equal in skill level to what you would have in terms of like armor and weapons. Whereas in Skyrim, there is nothing like that. But the only thing that really levels with you is dragons.
Ah, okay.
And that's just to make them the challenge for what they should be, because it's a fucking dragon.
Well, I mean, I would have not been surprised if you ran into a dragon that was infinitely stronger than you were.
There are certain dragons you'll come across that will have that happen with. There's also certain things in the game called dragon priests. Now those things are fun.
Oh, nice. That sounds particularly scary, actually. But I look forward to some of those battles. Those will be fun. You brought up another thing just a minute or two ago. The notion of the fast travel. Is that a new thing for the series, or has that been?
That's been around.
That's been around for a while. With this one though, like in Oblivion, you could fast travel to all the major cities, whereas with Skyrim, you have to discover you have to discover the area.
In Skyrim, you have to actually have been to that location. Before you can fast travel, which makes sense. That's how it was in Oblivion too. But like Oblivion's thing was like you could immediately fast travel to all the major cities, which made it a little bit annoying. Or for people who wanted a power game, they could fast travel to a certain area and power game their way really quickly. Well, I get the sense that the Elder Scrolls games, I mean, and Skyrim in particular, they're not meant for speed runs.
Oh no, they're not.
But they have been done.
Well, yes, I'm sure they have. I mean, it doesn't seem like the type of RPG that would be conducive to speedruns, given how involved and invested you have to be with your characters. You can't. It isn't like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest where you can find places to say level grind, really to level up really quickly and just go.
Yeah. With Skyrim 2, like, there's always been a bit of an emphasis on the music, and
I'm enjoying it immensely, as a matter of fact. I did download the soundtrack. I have listened to some of the soundtrack.
Yeah, there's always some pretty good music playing. It's always appropriate as well to the setting and scenery.
You stole it right out of my head. That yes, it is. Yes, I've found that pretty early on was that the music fits the atmosphere immensely. There was a point in the game where I finished exploring the Bleak Falls Temple or whatever it was called. Got the Golden Claw, did everything in there, and I just stepped out and just looked at this vast expanse of land, and the music was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I brought April in to just show her the scenery of the game, and she was impressed. So the music is composed by a composer named Jeremy Soule. He did the scores for Morrowind and Oblivion.
Yeah, those games had some pretty decent soundtracks as well. But I think with Skyrim, like it really fits the. I think he really hit the ball out of the park with this one.
Nick, what do you think of the music so far?
I really, for the most part, ignore most musical settings. At least when I'm playing the Elder Scrolls. I think maybe because my volume setting's too low, or if I'm just that engrossed in the game. But I really don't pay a whole lot of attention to the music, especially for this kind of a game. That really demands a lot of your attention. That's really one of the last things I really pay attention to is the musical atmosphere of the game, which is a change for me because normally music is one of the first things I talk about next to the gameplay itself. But this is a rare exception where I really don't pay attention to it because everything else is so damn good.
So the music, while good, takes a backdrop. It's to the rest of the game going on. Essentially.
Yeah, at least that's how I see it.
All right, that's fine too. I didn't know who the composer was at first for Skyrim, but I'm listening to the music, and I'm going, this sort of epic type. Some of the music is epic sounding in nature. And I'm like, this sounds a little bit familiar, and then I realized, oh wait a minute, this is the same guy who composed the music for another, Icewind Dale, which is a PC game. I don't know if any one of you has ever played it or seen it, but whatever.
I know of it. I never played it though.
But anyway, minor fact. Minor little tangent there.
And there's something you learned every day.
Ta-da!
The more you know, the knowledge is power.
Oh.
Gojo.
Suddenly he's going to go into Schoolhouse Rock. Nick is going to...
That was awesome back in the day.
Nick is going to break... It was. Nick is going to break out an arousing rendition of I'm Just a Bill. And...
I was more about the... not the Bill one. The adjectives, adverbs, and all that.
Conjunction, junction. But...
Yeah.
All right.
Moving on.
Back to the topic at hand here. The story. The music supplements the game quite nicely, but also, we do have a main story to talk about, which, by and large, can be indefinitely put off, which is very rare, for me at least, in a video game to see, in which the main story is not really required.
Yeah, that's a pretty common theme with the Elder Scrolls games. Is the story is pretty much is meant to be put in the back seat, and the main focus of the gameplay is just the open worldness of it.
And I don't know if I like that or not. I do like having some direction to go in my games to at least give me an objective to what to do and where to go. The fact that the main story is just it's just kind of there. By that point you might as well. I guess it relates a lot to either a Saints Row or Grand Theft Auto, kind of a sandbox in that sense of you can do this, but you can also do whatever the heck you want. So,
Well,
I guess when I put it in that perspective, it makes me feel not as cheated.
well, I mean, what did you think of Final Fantasy XII, which had a sort of similar style, non-linear?
I played it for about 4 hours and then I snapped. The
Oh.
game was immediately returned, and I never wanted to look at it again.
So
All
what's kept you with Skyrim then? I mean, Final Fantasy XII has the similar
I
sort
think
of
this-
of
I think
open-ended.
I think Skyrim does a little better job in kind of pulling you along, because the side quests that have been finding have been conveniently located either in or next to the main story dungeon I'm supposed to go to anyway. So for me, it seems kind of bundled nicer together. At least that's how I see it.
Okay.
But then
All
again,
right.
I've only been in the game for, not much longer than you, so maybe I'm just a little skewed. I don't know.
All right, now I'm curious on what you guys' opinions of this is. I had someone come up to me shortly after Skyrim came out and said, "Oh, this looks like an interesting game. Well, what is it like?" Now, my reply to him was, "Well, it's Fallout 3, only replaced post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland with with a fantasy setting and dragons."
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate.
If I played Fallout 3, I would know what you were talking about. But
I haven't played Fallout 3 either, but I've heard enough of it to pretty much go, yeah, that sounds about right.
It's just like this is a thing that Bethesda is pretty good at in terms of the open worldness. Fallout 3 was 2008, I want to say.
Oh, I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy.
It was somewhere around there.
He's asking stats. You're the correct person.
Oh, right.
Yeah, well,
Right.
but basically,
That's my job, isn't it?
yeah,
Yes.
but pretty much like Bethesda's got 3 games under their belt with this open worldness. They've got Fallout 3, they've got Oblivion, and then they have Fallout New Vegas. So
Okay.
they know quite well how to do the whole open world thing. And you can sort of see certain elements in each game building up to Skyrim. Like Oblivion is pretty much the same setting in terms of the Elder Scrolls world and some of the spells. With Fallout 3, you have the open worldness and the stumbling upon quests along the way. And New Vegas, you see a lot of them fine tuning those certain aspects and like certain balancing issues and again more open worldness gameplay and having more quests available. With Skyrim, you see them sort of culminating in all those ideas of a world with a lot of side quests. The main story is not required to do anything else in the game, really. You could quite literally ignore the main story quest completely, and you can still get all the dragon shouts. And well, I shouldn't say like that. You can get almost all the dragon shouts. You can get yourself to be max level before you even go do anything in the main quest, and you'll still find the main quest entertaining and engaging.
Okay. Well, I mean, I will definitely give Skyrim a fair shot because, again, I have not played too many games that are this open-ended. I mean, as I said at the beginning of the show, am more used to the Final Fantasies, the Dragon Quests, the JRPGs in which you do have, a linear style of game. So this is going to be an interesting challenge. Now, I know that, obviously there's full customization of your character, but what about personality? I mean, is it like Mass Effect, where the choices you make within the dialogue determine your character's personality?
Mm,
I don't
by
think
and
so.
by and large, you can be as much of a jackass or as much of a nice guy as you want. It doesn't really affect anything.
But it doesn't affect the course of the game like, say, Mass Effect does.
Not really.
Okay.
It's pretty much just like your own personal choice of, do I want to be a jackass, or do I want to be a smartass, or do I want to be the shining knight?
But either way, it's not going to affect the rest of the game.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, if there's any sort of like major affecting the course of the game, those options are spelled out pretty clear for you before you make that final choice.
Ah, okay. So it follows, sort of a traditional RPG in that sort of sense, where you have, NPCs and, certain dialogue trees for certain actions, but they don't affect the outcome of the game. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and you can just go back and have them conveniently forget the previous conversation.
Not really.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. Well, there's also the issue too with like NPC death in this game is permanent. They don't respawn.
Oh, so my traveling companion is whoops. Whoopsie.
Yeah, moving right along. But
yeah, but, like, you just gotta be careful with that too, because sometimes I actually in Whitehall I had a shop NPC die during a dragon fight, and now I can't buy anything from that shop.
Ah, okay, that's a bit of a unique twist. Uh-huh.
You gotta be careful with the NPCs.
Well, I've already figured out that certain dialogue trees with NPCs open up other side quests.
Yes,
I've already figured that out.
That happens anyway, but like you have to be careful too, because sometimes, well, pretty much in general, NPC death in this game is permanent. So if you kill, I don't know, unless the NPC is somehow important to the main story, the NPC death is permanent.
Yeah, my traveling companion.
I realized early on that you could also accidentally hurt your companion.
Yeah.
There is friendly fire. There is, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of learned that the hard way.
So you gotta be careful with just exactly where you plant that fireball.
Because there was a moment, very early on in the game as you're fleeing the initial dragon, as you're underground in the keep. We're fighting off some soldiers, and I'm swinging this sword around, and I accidentally hit my companion for damage. I'm like, oh crap! That actually does damage in this. Okay, moving out of the way now.
Yeah.
I don't want to lob off my companion's head with this two-handed iron greatsword.
Yeah.
So you're like making a new character now.
Well, you can do that after we're done.
I know, but I'm just saying. Just hearing of all the various paths of how Ron, how you've built your character, and Brian, you seem to have built more of an archer than anything else.
Oh yeah, yes, but I want my archer to be able to also handle two-handed weapons. Those are fun. So
you're more of a ranger.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm getting at. Whereas I'm just sitting there as kind of a melee tank.
Oh yes.
Maybe one of the things I would have wanted to see is maybe some online play, team up with other people.
Oh, I don't.
God, don't. No.
Do not turn this into an MMO.
No. The issue here, there's one main reason why you cannot have that happen.
All right, explain yourself.
There's only meant to be one quote-unquote, or like one or two quote-unquote Dragonborns. The fact that you could have 5 Dragonborns in one game is not feasible.
It would fuck up the story something fierce.
If I got the story something fierce, just the coding involved with having a unique character running around in this big-ass open world is heavy in and of itself. Try having 5 of them running around. Or
5 million running around.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, maybe I'm not saying for Skyrim specifically, but maybe in a future game, do kind of like a Borderlands system and just have a party of 4.
Oh, there's people who've been clamoring for an Elder Scrolls MMO for so long.
I'm not asking for an MMO.
No, but that's what essentially it's going to turn into.
Yeah, that I'm not so high and mighty on, but I do, I just wanted to, if they're gonna, rip off D&D for most of it, let's just go the whole way. Let's have a party of 4.
I think that for a game of this size and scope, I think it's best to just have the single player experience. I think I would not want for this to be an MMO. No, thank you.
Just, I guess my only problem with it is there are times where I wish I was doing something else.
At that point, you save the game and.
Yeah,
Step
I
away
mean,
for a
I
little
just
bit.
don't want to be making, a whole new character to do one thing that I want to do.
Well,
Not to be confused with, saving the game before you fuck some shit up.
which I've accidentally done. It's just like, oh,
Yeah,
I save a
and I
game,
saved.
save a game, walk forward a few steps, accidentally hit a trap that I forgot was there, and suddenly I'm now skewered inside this door with metal spikes. Nice. That's a rather fun way to go. But so there we go. And do we have anything more we want to say about Skyrim before we start winding down?
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, you're.
I think that's about all I got.
All right. So there we go. There's Skyrim for you. If you want to throw in any more feedback, your own thoughts about the game, even if it's just rabid fan squeeing all over the place, you can do so. And I'll tell you the websites after this last bit of final thought. I said in the final episode of last year that we were going to do a segment called Cool Moments in Video Games. In basically which I was just going to take a few minutes to talk about a particular moment in any video game that makes the video game stand out. And cements it to memories. Just a little cool moment in a video game that you just go, that's fucking awesome. And so I will open this first little bit of segment by talking about Super Paper Mario.
Okay, we're not dating ourselves here a little bit or anything.
It's a Wii title. It's still this generation. It counts.
Yes, but how long has that game been out? And have you just gotten into it, buddy?
No. I've beaten this. I've had this game for some years now. I've beaten it.
Okay, that comforts me.
I did not just buy the game, Nick. No. I've had this game. I think this was this is a game I bought at launch or shortly thereafter. So, but the one particular moment in this game that sticks out, and it's just cool every time I see it, is what happens to Mario whenever he gets a star. Which is very, very rare in the game, but when it does, it's beautiful. What happens when Mario gets a star, for those of you who haven't played Super Paper Mario, when Mario gets a star, he literally grows to the size of your entire television screen. And for about a minute, you just bowl over everything in your way. Kind of like what the giant mushroom does in New Super Mario Brothers. But this
8-bit.
What?
But 8-bit.
But 8-bit, yes. 8-bit Mario just blowing across everything for about a minute while the star music is playing, and it's just absolutely awesome, and it's a very cheap way to level up. But it's so cool to just be. I'm like, why couldn't Nintendo have done this 26 years ago? This is what the stars should have always been able to do.
Wouldn't want it for every single scenario, but yeah, that was a nice touch.
It was a very, very nice touch, and so I thought that particular moment was a cool moment. I mean, the game overall was not bad, but a little thing like that, just like, wow, this is fucking awesome. So there you go. That's my cool moment in video games. We'll have a different one for each episode. And so, that's that. So that puts an end to this episode. Again, if you want to give us a comment, feedback, anything like that, you can go on to our Facebook page, facebook.com/downloadablecontent, or on Twitter @DLContent. And we have... Ron and I are in the middle of a discussion about trying to actually create a website for downloadable content. We'll keep you more, we'll give you more news on that as it develops. But in the meantime, you can find every single episode on iTunes. It's available, free download, free is good. And so that wraps this one up. So for Ron and for Nick, I am Brian. We have to get back to Skyrim now, so our time is up. So see you around, everyone. Have a good one.